What's going on, guys? Your boy Joey Shake 72 coming at you guys with a video on some breaking news today that Jeremy Macklin has officially been released from the Kansas City Chiefs. Now, I know what everyone's going to say. Come back to Philly. Deshaun Jackson didn't want to pay, the Redskins didn't want to pay him. And they had this smoothed out story to camouflage a road back to Philadelphia to help him get to another team and get big money. Now, with Jeremy Macklin, he's always been one of my favorite players, not just emotionally from the heart, but he was always a reliable player. Had that torn ACL injury, and then came back and tore it up. He benefited of being on the outside for a lot of receivers. Jordan Matthews had a great fucking year, his rookie year in the slot. It's like I don't want my heart to get in the way of this. Now, if we only got Alshon Jeffrey in free agency and we needed that other receiver, I would say go get Jeremy Macklin at this moment. But if he expects to get paid big money, I wouldn't make this move. You can't get paid big money and sit behind two receivers. It's not going to happen. I'm just saying, for instance, in that situation where if he expects to get a big deal, it's not going to happen. Not with us, it's not. Because, let's face it, I fell for the Deshaun Jackson coming back. And at first, I thought it was a good idea just because your heart gets in the way of your needs for this football team for the long term. I know that Torrey Smith's not long term. I know Alshon is very much long term. But if we only got Alshon Jeffrey in free agency, I would say go get him. Let's just go fucking sign him. Bring him back. Let's go get him. He's been injured. He had a big contract from Kansas City. It was like a 5-year, $50-something million deal. It was a big deal. Or 4-year, whatever it was. And he was going to be a $12.3 million cap hit, so they got rid of him and freed up about $10 million in cap space, which I don't blame him, because if a guy's going to be injured and he's not going to be holding it down for himself and staying healthy, then it's not going to work out. And do I want Jeremy Macklin on the Eagles? Of course I do. Who doesn't want Jeremy Macklin back? You understand? From the heart, I want him back. But for the needs of this team, I don't know. Would you be satisfied if we did sign him, but we signed him to big money as a backup? It's not going to happen. Unless he just takes a 1-year deal with the Eagles and becomes a backup, or who knows, maybe start over Torrey Smith. I don't know. I have no idea. Depending if Torrey Smith stays healthy or he has to sit out a few games, then yeah, go, put him in and see what he can do. I think he could still play. He's only 29. I think he could still play for a few more years and be very, very reliable. But it's not confusing, because it's not confusing to the point where I know we're set at the wide receiver position, but when you add Jeremy Macklin to this wide receiving core, then someone else is going to have to get cut. You understand? That means DGB is already going to be gone. That means that one more receiver is going to have to be gone. You understand? They're not going to keep 6 receivers. It's not going to happen. The most they'll keep is 5. They'll keep 5 or 6. I'd say 5 the most. I don't know. It's going to be a hard thing. I don't think the Eagles are going to go after him. I'll be fucking surprised if they sign him. If they do to a 1-year deal, I wouldn't be mad about it. Not at all, because it's an upgrade to Nelson Aguilar. It's an upgrade to DGB. So technically, it's not a bad signing if it happens. Um, the Eagles are not going to be stupid and sign him to big money. And if Jeremy Macklin is looking for that big contract, the Eagles are not the spot for him. It's going to be a bumpy road even coming back here because I know that he spoke very highly of Doug Peterson when he was hired as the coach, the Eagles head coach. I know that, he was very highly of Doug Peterson and knew that, he knows he'll coach that Eagles team very well. He'll coach the team very well and get it done. And he's the type of coach. And, that was the whole discussion with Jeremy Macklin when they were talking about, the difference between Chip Kelly and Doug Peterson, the type of coaches they are, how they handle their players on and off the field. If you could sign him to a 1-year deal, bring him in. If you can't, and it's the money situation, look, Jeremy Macklin every player has an agent, and if his agent thinks, hey, you have to give him, a truckload of money, like there's probably one player out there that probably shouldn't get the money he's getting, and that's Kenny Britt. Signed a huge deal with the Cleveland Browns, like at 31, 32 years old. It's like ridiculous, like $35 million. It's like that's fucking ridiculous money for a guy that's 31, 32 years old. As a receiver, that's, not the best receiver in the fucking world either. Jeremy Macklin could really do something here. And if somebody goes down, that's it. The only thing is that we're already set with the starters, so that's why it's hard, because you sign him, then what? It's like he's gonna sit on the bench. I don't know what Jeremy Macklin's point of view is. Does he want to? Of course, he wants to start. Every player wants to start, but would he come back to be that backup? Would he come back, just to fill in, And if somebody gets hurt, would he jump in? You understand? It wouldn't be a bad thing. It would be an upgrade. But should we waste a roster spot on Jeremy Macklin where we want to see what Nelson Aguilar can do this year? I know it's fucking tiring to say it, but we need to give these young guys a chance. Mac Hollins, Shelton Gibson, we need to give these guys a chance. We can't, you hear Jeremy Macklin getting cut, we get excited, like, let's bring him in. But at the same time, we need to stick to what we need on this team. Okay, because Macklin hasn't stayed healthy, and he's not too reliable. When he's healthy, he's very reliable. He just has to stay healthy, and that's it. But you're going to bring a 29-year-old wide receiver into this wide receiving group where there's young guys that are hungry and they want to fucking get their starting spot, and we want to see what they can do. So we're going to cut a guy that has potential, but we're going to cut him because we need to fill that roster spot with Jeremy Macklin and with the other 4 wide receivers that we have. Alshon Jeffrey, Jordan Matthews, Torrey Smith, Nelson Aguilar, and then Jeremy Macklin. So what happens with Mac Hollins? What happens with Shelton Gibson? You know what I mean? If they make the team. You know what I'm saying? That's just... They're really going to waste one roster spot, and the guy's 29 years old, and they're going to... You know what I mean? This is technically a rebuild, if you could say that. I think we're just a few pieces, to be honest with you. Until down the line we can get, some more young bodies in there, but it's just not, it's just not something that's, if it was like maybe LaShawn McCoy, if we didn't have LeGarrette Blount, if LaShawn McCoy got fucking, if he ended up getting cut and we didn't have LeGarrette Blount, we just had Wendell Smallwood, I would just say bring him the fuck in. Of course, I'd tell him to come because he had very good seasons, barely hurt. So, it's a different story, but we already filled that void of what we have now. And that's it. We already filled that void already. That position's done. And you can't bring in the 20, like I'm going to say this for the 15th time. You cannot bring him in and then what? I mean, they're not going to keep 6, 7 receivers on this team. I highly doubt it. They're not going to keep an extra 3 receivers on the team. An extra 4 or 5 the most. 5 receivers they're going to keep. They're not going to keep 6 or 7 receivers. I doubt it. Especially with how much depth we have on the D line right now, and we need that depth. We need that pass rush. We need those fresh bodies coming in. So we need that, and I don't know if they could work something out. I just don't think it makes any sense right now, especially him. I just don't think it makes any sense. Do I think he's better than Torrey Smith? I don't really know. I mean, at this time of right now, Torrey Smith has been very healthy. He's had a concussion or 2. Jerry Macklin has fucking problems with his lower body and whatnot. But it's hard. It's a hard decision to make. That's a hard decision that they're going to have to make because they already made moves. And Jeremy Macklin will get signed to a team, but to us, for big money, I don't know. Depends if he wants big money. It depends if the situation, the best situation for him is they get to have a prove-it deal for a year on a team, and then pretty much just work for his last contract of his career. Just a short little one, if that's the case. So my answer to this is no, which is hard because I do want him around. And if we had, like I said, if we had Torrey Smith, if we didn't have Torrey Smith, I would just tell them, oh yeah, bring him in immediately, get him on this team. But right now, do we have a lot of depth at outside receiver? No, not at all. We don't have 2 speedy receivers, except Shelton Gibson. We'll see what he does. But other than that, we don't have anybody. And if he's looking for big money, it's not going to happen. Not with this team, it's not. I mean, he shouldn't anyway. He should just play somewhere for a year, get fucking paid something. That's it. If there's a spot for him on this team, good. If they could work something out with this roster and try to figure out what they're doing, that's fine. That's fine. I don't know how Matt Collins is going to be. I don't know how Shelton Gibson is going to be. And if he's still a free agent by that time, they want to bring someone else in just for the year, bring him in. Who gives a shit? But for the answer to the whole question about bringing Jeremy Macklin back, as a team perspective, no. My heart says bring him in. But for the team, no. It's not going to do much for us for the long term. It's not. And I know Torrey Smith's not long term. I don't know. I know he's going to have a good year, a productive year. But for the future, it's not going to do anything. We can't throw money. Can't throw money away. So that's all I got to say about that. We'll see what happens. I'll be surprised if they do sign him, but I won't be disappointed. I'll be happy about it. But at the same time, be like, maybe they just brought him in for a year, see what happens. Whatever. That's all I got to say, guys, about Jeremy Macklin coming to the Eagles and being cut by the Kansas City Chiefs. So we'll see what happens. See you guys later.